A lot of people have asked me to cover Destiny 1 strikes, and you guys have also made it very clear that you prefer long form videos. So I'm going to attempt to knock them all out in one video. Don't forget to subscribe and enjoy the video. What you're seeing on screen is the Echo Chamber. Now I believe this was actually a PlayStation exclusive at some point, but nevertheless it's actually set on Venus, which is pretty cool. You're probably familiar with this location even if you played Destiny 2, because this is actually where the Vault of Glass is. Essentially this was a Vex themed strike, and the main mechanic here was actually disrupting barriers using arc charges. It was a pretty simple mechanic. We've got it in Destiny 2, you pick up the charges, you disrupt the barriers, and you keep moving forward. But the part of this strike that I actually really like is the boss fight, so we're going to move straight to the boss now. So the boss fight itself is pretty cool. The arena is actually like a big ring, and you go around in a circle disrupting the barriers. In terms of strike specific rewards, you can actually get these gauntlets for the Warlock. It's also worth noting the Echo Chamber and the Undying Mind would actually drop the Imago loop. This was a very sought after hand cannon, and I have covered it before in another video, but essentially this was like a mini Fatebringer. Not only did it look like a Fatebringer, it could also roll with Outlaw and Firefly, not to mention you could get explosive rounds on this weapon, so it was a very strong hand cannon, so you can see why a lot of people wanted to chase it. Anyway, let me know what you guys thought of this strike. I always kind of enjoyed it, and I kind of like the Vex vibe, and also being on Venus is always nice, and seeing it nowadays, it just looks like such a cool location. Right, now we're going to move on to the Dust Palace, which was a Cabal strike set on Mars. There's no unique mechanics or anything crazy going on in this strike, but essentially you just climb up a huge building. This strike does suffer from the defend your ghost while he opens a door problem, which a lot of people don't like, because essentially you're just waiting for him to open a door, which isn't really a mechanic. Personally, I'm not too bothered by this mechanic. I'm happy to fight off waves of enemies in the same area as long as the level is well designed. Right, we're going to move to the boss area now, and essentially you're going to fight 3 different elemental scions. In terms of unique rewards from this strike, you could actually get the Treads Upon Stars scout rifle. This scout rifle does look pretty good. Unfortunately, I don't think I ever got it, but it has some pretty nice perks on that weapon. In terms of specific hunter rewards, you could actually get some really cool cloaks. Hopefully I found gameplay of all 3 of these, but basically there was a Void, Solar and Arc Scion Flare cloak, and these things just looked so cool. To be fair, I wouldn't actually mind if these things came back. I completely forgot how cool they looked. Moving on, we have Sepiks Perfected. Now, I'm only going to show the boss fight of this strike just because we got it back in Destiny 2 recently, and I know a lot of people have already played it. Essentially, this is just like a Seaver-fied version of the Sepik strike. For the weapon, you could get the Devil's Dawn sniper rifle, which is a pretty cool looking Fallen themed sniper rifle. In terms of armor, you could get this Warlock Bond. Next up, we have the Abomination strike, and this is probably the strike I get the most nostalgic for, mainly because of this sound. Maybe you guys have got no idea what I'm talking about, but I feel like I've heard that over and over again. Essentially, this was a hive-themed strike, and at the end of the strike, you actually fight a huge ogre called the Abomination. In terms of unique rewards, you could get the Devil's Dawn sniper rifle again, and also a unique pair of hunter gauntlets. I'm now realizing how much I actually want strike-specific rewards to come back while I'm recording this video. These things look so cool. Right, next up, we're going to talk about one of my personal favorite strikes from the whole of Destiny, the Shield Brothers. This Cabal strike came out with the Taken King, and it takes place on the Dreadnought. Essentially, you're fighting through a Cabal ship, you come across a tank, and you just keep moving forward, but my favourite part about this strike is definitely the boss fight. Again, you're in a big circular arena, and you fight these 2 Cabal bosses. Now, they both have unique abilities, and if you kill one, the other one gains his abilities. I'm going to see if I can get gameplay of that, but it's just so cool. So a strategy here was to get them both at low health, and then try and kill them together as quickly as possible, so you don't enrage the other one sort of thing. As for the rewards, you could get a unique pair of Titan gauntlets, and you could also get the Treads Upon Stars scout rifle again. Moving on, we have the Undying Mind, and if you're just a Destiny 2 player, then you probably still recognise that name. That's because in Season of the Dawn, this boss actually came back, so I guess he's got quite a fitting name. In terms of the strike itself, it's actually set in the Black Garden. Again, there's no crazy mechanics, but it's a really well laid out strike, and I do remember farming this over and over from my Imago loop. Speaking of which, like I just said, the Imago loop was a possible reward again, and you could also get a mark for the Titan. The Will of Crota has returned in Destiny 2 at some capacity, but I wanted to talk about the strike-specific rewards from Destiny 1. Essentially, you could get a Warlock Bond and also the Grasp of Malok. Now, I can't stress how good this pulse rifle was. So many people spent ages grinding this strike just to get a good roll at this thing. Anyway, I know there's a little bit of a split. Half of you have played Destiny 1, half of you haven't, so let me know, did you manage to get a god roll of this weapon? We've now got another strike set on Venus, this time the Nexus. One of the things I remember most about this strike is the fact there was like a little safe spot in the boss room, so when it was like a hard difficulty or a nightfall, that was quite a good place to go and hide. And obviously, in Destiny 1 we had weapons that could generate ammo, so in theory you could have just sat there with an icebreaker. In terms of unique rewards for this strike, we actually have the Mark of the Nexus undone. Next up, we've got a Rise of Iron strike called the Wretched Eye. This was a Seaver themed strike, but my favourite aspect of it was probably the boss fight. In this encounter, you would need to defeat a boss while also also avoiding an ogre. As you damage the boss, the ogre would get more and more aggressive, but it could only target one player at a time. Also, the boss would teleport to 4 different locations depending on the percentage of its remaining HP. So overall, a pretty fun encounter. In terms of unique rewards, you could get a hunter helmet, a titan mark, and also again the Devil's Dawn sniper rifle. The Blighted Chalice was a taken moonstrike. This strike had a pretty cool boss fight, but unfortunately the only unique reward here was the same hunter helmet from the Wretched Eye. Next up we have the Fallen Saber, which we just got back in Destiny 2, but I still wanted to talk about the rewards. In terms of unique rewards, we actually had this like electric warlock helmet, which I really like, and then you could also get the Baron's Ambition machine gun. This was a pretty nice looking Fallen themed machine gun, and it actually had a pretty nice perk pool. Next up, another personal favourite strike of mine, we actually have the Sunless Cell. Now I believe completing a variant of this strike was one of the final parts of the exotic sword quest. In terms of the strike itself, it's really well designed and there's some awesome set pieces, but obviously my favourite part is the boss fight. So the arena itself was set in the dark, and you'd actually have a boss which would attack you from the shadows. And again, in terms of the boss, you probably recognise the model. That's because it's been reused a lot in Destiny 2 and especially during Forsaken. In terms of rewards for this strike, you could get the Darkblade Titan helmet, which literally just looks like the boss's head, and then you could also get the Darkblade Spiked fusion rifle. Next up we have the Shadow Thief, better known as the Tannic strike, and this was a fallen strike set on the moon. In terms of the boss fight, it's pretty basic, but where this strike shines is in the unique loot. You could get the Cloak of Tannics for the hunter, the Baron's Ambition machine gun again, and also the Does Not Bow auto rifle. I've actually covered this auto rifle in my legendary series, but overall this was a pretty cool weapon. Moving on, we have the Cerberus strike, which was set on Mars and was actually a Cabal strike. The most memorable thing about this strike isn't the encounters, it's probably the dialogue.
Whether we wanted it or not, we've stepped into a war with the Cabal on Mars. So let's get to taking out their command one by one. Valus Auric. From what I can gather, he commands the siege dancers from an Imperial land tank outside of Rubicon. He's well protected. But with the right team, we can punch through those defenses, take this beast out, and break their grip on Freehold.
So in terms of unique rewards, you can actually get the Treads Upon Stars scout rifle again. Finally, we've got the Winter's Run strike, but we're going to be taking a look at the Taken version of this just because of the unique reward. So again, we have a pretty normal boss fight. You're actually fighting an escapee from the Prison of Elders, I believe, but where this thing's really cool is in the unique loot. So we have the Stolen Will shotgun, and as you can see, this thing is just literally a Taken shotgun, which is just so cool. Anyway boys, thank you for watching. I hope you're enjoying these more long form videos, although they do take much longer to make. So I think I'm perfectly justified in saying at the end here, please subscribe. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please join the Discord, follow me on Twitter, and goodbye.